Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Admiral Brown. Thank you, NDTA. Thank you, Rocky Mobaraki, who I think was the inspiration for this reunion. And it certainly is a reunion. It's a very nice homecoming for me. I moved here from Minneapolis in 1988 to join GovTravels and really began to interact with this community for an extended period of time. I had the pleasure to serve on the NDTA board as well as chair the PTSC. So it's been a while. I don't think the lingo's changed much based on the last panel. I think a lot of the same things we're dealing with today are the same things we dealt with back then. So although it sounds like a lot of progress has been made too. Okay, who here's heard of ARC? Anybody? A few people? Those of you that have heard of ARC, do you have any idea what we actually do? Sort of. Okay, got a few head shakes. Well, we'll come away from this hopefully understanding not only what ARC does, but also how some of the data that we collect reflects changing trends in the industry and what does that mean for the future. We will also demystify this mysterious thing in the airline industry called NDC. If you're following the industry trades at all, you'll know that this is a topic probably understood by 50 people in the world. So we will at least double that by the end of this session. Okay, ARC. We are the Airlines Reporting Corporation. We are owned by 8 airlines. And we're best known as being the accreditation and settlement system in the United States. If you want to sell airline tickets in America, you come to us, we accredit you, we vet you. Our job is to provide transparency to our participating airlines into their agencies and to make sure that they get paid. In the old days, we were a paper ticket processor. We shipped boxes of tickets out to travel agency locations. We got copies of the sales back in, and we made sure that the airlines got paid for those tickets accordingly. We're in that same role today, but it's, of course, 99.9, probably 99% electronic. Anybody here heard of IATA? Yeah, so what's IATA? They do what we do, but outside the US. Now you might ask yourself, why are there 2 different organizations actually doing this? And the simple answer is because we were here first. And actually, that's true. 2 organizations have led the industry, the Air Transport Association, which is now known as A4A, or Airlines for America, and the International Air Transport Association. And as I mentioned, in the early days, agencies could get accredited, but prior to 1965, agencies had to go to airlines individually to get tickets, actual tickets to write. So if you were a New York City travel agency, you had a box of Eastern tickets and American tickets and Pan Am tickets and El Al tickets and Lufthansa tickets all in your back office. And oh, by the way, this guy wanted to be paid monthly, and this guy wanted to be paid every week, and this guy wanted to be paid every 2 weeks. It was a little confusing. So what happened? The U.S. industry really led this effort. So the Air Transport Association was formed in 1936. By 1945, we had 600 accredited agents in the U.S. That was the year IATA actually was formed. By 1956, Braniff came forward and said, we're tired of sending paper tickets out to what are turning out to be thousands of travel agencies in the United States. In other words, they were basically saying, we're not in the airline business. We're in the paper business. We're spending all of our time shipping boxes of tickets out to travel agencies. So they said, let's set up a clearinghouse. Let's go to neutral stock. We'll give every agent a credit card validating form. They can stick the ticket in there, put a plate with our airline name on it, and chunk, all of a sudden it's a Braniff ticket. Or put a Pan Am thing in there, chunk, it's a Pan Am ticket. So they actually implemented that idea, and by 1971, we had 67 airlines participating in that clearinghouse, 7,000 agencies processing $2.4 billion of sales. Now, of course, the U.S. Airline Trade Association is only responsible for the U.S., so the International Trade Association started doing this outside the U.S., with their very first one in Japan in 1971. In 1985, ARC was spun off as a separate Delaware corporation, still owned by the airlines, and we continue to operate that way today. The majority of ARC's business, actually, though, are non-accreditation and settlement services. We offer data products. We actually partner with our friends at IATA, and we collect the data on travel agency and airline direct sales from all over the world. Today, we are collecting over 1 billion tickets a year in our system. So if you're interested in knowing what's going on in the passenger travel sector, we have some wonderful data to help inform you. And we sell it to airlines, agencies, destinations, governments, tour, convention bureaus, and financial services firms. We also offer an agency fee program and other optional services. We're also a place where people come together to solve problems. We're one of the few places in the industry where airlines, agencies, GDSs, credit card providers can come together and say, what's wrong? How can we improve business process, make this doing business with each other more efficient? And we run a number of different groups in order to improve our industry. A little bit by the numbers, we're a modestly sized organization, 390 employees. We have 12,000 accredited agency locations here in the US, 229 participating airlines, and that's really a nice number. In 2003, we only had 125 airlines that agents could ticket on at ARC, and we've almost doubled that number since then, which is not easy to do, actually, because they are constantly merging and going bankrupt. So to get that number to go up is no simple task. $88.5 billion still flowed through the ARC system in 2017. The death of the travel agent is greatly exaggerated. And 268 million passenger trips were processed through ARC. Anybody here ever flown on an airline? So you're an expert then, right? Expert on the airline industry. All right, well, Johnny, we are going to test our studio audience on the latest trends in travel industry distribution. So, our first question for our studio audience. We've seen mega mergers and bankruptcies over the years, tremendous consolidation in the US market. Excluding my friends at Southwest Airlines who don't ticket through ARC, but we hope you will someday. We're basically down to the big three airlines at ARC. So, the big three, American, Delta, United, represent how much of ARC 2017 air ticketing? Is it A, 54%? Hands. B, 68%. C, 91%. Actually, not that much. The correct answer is B, 68%. We do have 227 airlines, so there's a lot of other stuff that happens. Now let's look at the flip side of that. What's been going on in the agency business? The top 20 agencies, they represent 5% of ARC, 35% of ARC, or 70% of ARC? B? C? Correct answer here is C, 70%. We've had almost as much consolidation in the agency business as we have in the airline business. Now, the correct answer here when I started in the agency business after leaving Northwest Airlines in 1983 would have been A. American Express did about $1 billion, and there was nobody even close at that time. And they would have been about 1%, 1.5% by themselves. Tremendous consolidation in this space. Okay, we all love our credit cards, right? Getting points, miles, rewards, cash back. Are we doing any cash in the system anymore? Cash sales processed by ARC in 2017 were A, $20 billion, B, $10 billion, or C, $200 million? C. Correct answer here, actually B, $10 billion. And that number, ladies and gentlemen, is actually going up. We are doing more cash every year since 2009. How is that possible, Mike? The correct answer actually is bundling. So when you buy a ticket from CWT Sater Travel or Omega, when you get your credit card statement, it doesn't say CWT or Omega. It says Delta Airlines. Because the agent is actually the agent of the airline. They are using the airline's merchant agreement to sell that ticket. However, when you buy a package from Expedia of air and hotel together, it says Expedia on it. They don't want you to see the two different charges, right? They don't want you to know how much was the hotel and how much was the air. So they bundle it together. They act as the merchant, use their credit card agreement, and then they pay me in cash. And they're big enough, and there's enough of that business going on that it's actually making our cash number go up. Okay, this ARC transaction type had the greatest numeric increase in 2017. Was it A, one-way tickets, B, EMDs, or C, exchanges? Does anybody not know what an EMD is? An EMD is the worst named document in our industry. It is called the Electronic Miscellaneous Document. Sexy, huh? It actually should be called the Electronic Merchandising Document because its purpose is to support the sales of all the ancillary services that airlines provide, such as preferred seats. So, A, one-ways, B's, EMD, C, exchanges. Yeah, I faked a little head fake on that one. A correct answer here actually is A. One-way tickets. One-way tickets. One-ways were flatlining at about 30% of ARC, about as far back as the eye can see. About 30% of the tickets we issued were one-ways. And oh, by the way, the government has done very well in this because you needed one-ways a lot, right? The YCA program, tremendous value that it provided was it allowed you to issue one-way tickets at reasonable rates. Now, all of us that have been around for a while know that in order to get the lowest fare, you had to book at least a couple weeks ahead of time and stay over what night? Saturday night. That's not true anymore. That is not true anymore. The airlines have changed the rules so that they are now selling a product. They are selling you a seat. If you want the cheapest seat, they have a seat for you in the back. You can't check a bag. You can't pre-book a seat. You get no miles. You get nothing. You get carried from here to there. That's our best price. But we've also got products where you can buy more. You can buy a little more room. You can buy a package that includes a bag. You can buy our first class, sit in first class, and we'll peel your grapes for you. And they've begun, because they've changed the rules on the purchase, because they're selling a product, they don't need to sell it on a round-trip basis. Plus, they're competing with Spirit, JetBlue, certain Southwest, who issue a lot of one-way tickets. So this is what's been happening with one-way tickets since 2015. We've gone from that sort of flatline 30% as far back as the eye can see to where I will not be surprised if in 2018 we see a month where 50% of the tickets are one-ways. And this is the new numeric representation. So 2015 we did almost 10 million more one-ways. The next year we did 8 million more than that, and 2017 we did 11 million more than that. Consumers have this is a very hidden consumer benefit because it has allowed customers tremendous flexibility. I can fly out on that line, out on that airline, and back on this airline and still get a good price. This ARC transaction type had the largest percentage increase. Spoiler alert, it's EMDs. This is what's been happening with EMDs. Not much happened. We turned on EMD processing capability in July of 2012. Pretty much nothing. It's jumped up fairly significantly, but has actually been going down in recent months. How is that possible, Mike? Basic economy. The basic economy fare, the lowest price, you actually cannot buy a seat. You don't get your seat assignment until you get to the airport. And that's actually putting a ding into the relatively few EMDs that agents are issuing. Okay, it's a scary world out there, folks. We've got ISIS. Ooh, we've got scary things. We've got plague, pestilence, hurricane, weather. True or false? Agency passengers traveled more internationally in 2017 or less? True, more, or false? Answer is true. Almost 10% increase in international travel in 2017 over 2016. Okay. Overall, in terms of the agency system here in the US, goes back to our inception, 1965. We started off about 6,000 agencies, peaked in the mid-90s at about 36,000, 35,000, and we are down to about 12,000 today. That red line on the bottom is STPs. Anybody remember what an STP is? Satellite ticket printer. We still have 250 satellite ticket printers out there. What? One word, Amtrak. Amtrak. Total tickets sold by travel agencies. You can see some interesting events there. Sort of get Gulf War I, you get 9/11 causing the big drops. And actually that little flip up at the end there, that's primarily one-way tickets. The message here, and I tell this to my airline friends all the time, is for all of your efforts to bring business directly to you, travel agents are still selling 150 million tickets a year, year in, year out. If you would like to be successful, please find a way to work with these people who are handling your best customers. Total sales, last year almost a record, the record high being 2014, just under $90 billion through the agency system. So that's a little bit about what's going on, some of the trends in the business. So let's talk about that mysterious topic, NDC. Again, you will be an expert in this when we complete this section. So where's the airline industry today? There's a commitment by the major carriers to compete across the market spectrum. We have more products in the marketplace today than ever. We've got basic economy, economy plus, business first, first class. We've got strong profits at the airlines for the foreseeable future. American Airlines CEO Doug Parker recently said, "We may never lose money again." Shocking, but perhaps true. Massive reinvestments to improve brand and customer experience. They're taking those profits, they're reinvesting it in new aircraft, new seats, new gates, new terminals, and even in their internal systems. And a massive reinvestment in people. You have our airline employees here today? Airline people? No? Not admitting it? In the back. Are you my Southwest people? No. Where? Where are you guys from? Nice. Welcome. ARC Ticketing here. And where? Turkish. Another very active ARC airline. Well, let's take a look at what the majors have been doing in terms of their investment in people. This is the big three, 2014, 15, 16. If you start on the 2014 side, you can see they were all paying about $11 billion a year for fuel and about $8 billion and change for people. In 2016, that is completely flipped. They're paying $10 billion for people and $5 billion for fuel. Most of the employees at major U.S. carriers have gotten a 20-25% pay increase in the last 2 years. Which is good news because Lord knows they have suffered. Bankruptcies, pay cuts, mergers. It's not been easy being an airline employee. So what's the problem? This all sounds good. The problem is that revenue is not really increasing. This is a very difficult business. Your prices are transparent. They're on Expedia, they're on Kayak, they're on Priceline. Everybody knows exactly, you know what your competitors are charging, they know what you're charging. Labor always wants their piece of the pie. And there's always a threat of low-cost competition. Start making money in some place and boom, Spirit's flying there next. So the challenge is, where's the new revenue going to come from? How are they actually going to grow these businesses? Well, remember the one-ways? Airlines are now selling products. They're not putting up behavior-based balls anymore. It's not about getting you to stay over Saturday night or making you book so far ahead. It's selling you a product. And that means the ever-increasing importance of ancillary revenue. I know I'm going to have to compete on price, but I'll try to sell other stuff so that I can make money. Spirit Airlines, on their most recent earnings call, said 50% of their revenue is ancillary, non-fare, non-ticket revenue. And of course, from the agency perspective, we're competing with the airline websites. And there are a lot of things that are actually hard to do outside of an airline website. It is hard to get a preferred seat. It's hard to pay with points or cash-in points. It's hard to buy priority boarding. It's hard to prepay Wi-Fi or buy a Wi-Fi subscription. It's hard to see multi-day options. I can go any of these 3 days. It's hard to see what a business class seat actually looks like. And with all of these different fare products, it's hard to understand what you actually get for the price. So how are we in the indirect and the agency channel doing with selling these things? Not so good. This is the number of tickets per ancillary sale. So in the OTA world, online travel, the Expedias, those guys, for every 140 tickets they sell one seat. Because it's 97% seats today is what we're selling. For business travel and government travel, it's worse than that. One for every 290 tickets. Now, I worry about this because if that's increasing in importance to airlines and we aren't not technically capable of selling those in our world, that's not good. So what are we doing about it? Da-da-da-da. NDC to the rescue. What is it? Well, the best way to understand this is to actually look, there's a IATA, which maintains the global standards for the industry, and by that I mean they're responsible for consistent business processes for all airlines around the world. A good example of that is a bag tag. You can tag your bag, that barcode has a global standard to it. You can check that bag on any airline and it will arrive in your destination and been checked through potentially on 2 or 3 different airlines around the world because they all understand what that barcode means. NDC is the same thing. It's a standard, so let's dig into what it is. NDC stands for New Distribution Capability. And the most basic understanding of it is for airlines, it means they have to be XML capable. Today, most of the messages that airlines send each other are EDIFACT. Very structured, traditional file format. I know that on line 7, the first 2 characters are going to be alpha and they're going to be an airline code. Now, that it offers enhanced reliability, but it makes it very hard to program. XML takes characters and says, I'm going to send you a code in front of this field that's going to tell you what's in it. So you're going to get, hey, the next thing's an airline code, the next thing's an airline flight number, the next thing's a picture of an airline seat. XML offers a much more flexibility, not only in terms of programming, but in terms of delivering content out to the world. So for airlines, level 1 is basic ancillary sales. You book a seat, you book a flight, and you offer them insurance at the end, or you offer them a car rental at the end. That's basic NDC. The next level is offer management. So that means you are going to control the offer. I'll talk about that in a minute. And level 3 is offer and order management. Okay, say those with me, please. Level 1 is basic. Level 2 is offer management. Level 3 is offer and order management. Okay, so what do we mean by those things? Offer and order management. So offer creation today looks like this. Those of us who've been around the industry, very familiar with this model. I'm an airline. I send my schedules to OAG, the official airline guide. They used to print paper books. Those of us long in the tooth remember. I send my fares and my fare rules to the Air Tariff Publishers Corporation, which is a sister to us, owned by the airlines out near Dulles Airport. And I have an online connection into different systems so you can check to see what classes of service are available on any flight. And when the customer asks their travel agent through their GDS, I want to go from Washington to San Diego on the 22nd of June, the GDS, which has purchased the schedules, purchased the fares and the rules from OAG and ATPCO, on the fly looks at all the potential combinations and returns the lowest fare choices in a half a second. It's pretty impressive. Order management looks like this. So once you book that flight, we issue an e-ticket. And a copy of that ticket comes to me at ARC. We load it into the travel agent's back office system so that they can report their sales. And that, by the way, kicks off the larger ARC process, which includes sending data to the airlines, sending the cash from those sales to the airlines, doing the credit card billing for almost all of those 227 airlines, and loading the data into our data warehouse for reporting purposes. Now, offer creation in the airline channel looks like this. You're all familiar with it. You go to the airline website. They have a product and price and availability engine, and they return the results from your request to fly to San Diego on the 22nd of June, also instantaneously. And for them, order creation means I issue an e-ticket on my internal system. Okay, so offer is about the shopping process, orders is about the fulfillment process. What NDC does is basically combine the two. I'm going to use the airline's pricing engine to send the offer to the GDS or potentially through a direct connection to the agent. The airline is basically saying is, GDS, I don't want you to do all those calculations. I'm going to give you the offers that I want you to present to that customer. You just pass them through. That's NDC, offer creation. The airline has control of the offer. Why do they want that? In some cases, it's because they haven't liked what some of these other system providers have done to their product. Someone wants to fly from X to Y. Some of the low fare calculations will give you 5-flight connection. The airline's like, I don't want people to fly that. That's going to be terrible. That's bad for my brand. They're going to have a horrible experience. They'll never fly me again. So I want to control the offers that they see. Well, this looks good on paper, but there's a lot of problems with this. It doesn't work well with agency processes. There's a question here of who's going to control the reservation. Is the airline going to control it? Or is the agency going to control it as they do today? Getting the data to the agency's back office system so they can do reporting, the duty of care, and other things that they're required to do, particularly by their corporate clients. Mid-office quality control systems, mid-office ticket fulfillment. Agencies use a lot of robotics today to reduce cost and improve efficiency. How can I do that if all this information is sitting over in the airline system? Unused e-ticket tracking. And what about the commercial terms for this? I'm getting certain services and offerings from my GDS providers. How can you match that, Mr. Airline? And is ARC even going to fit into this process? It's certainly possible. We see 2 or 3 different models being created in terms of how people are thinking about solving these things. One of which potentially involves, instead of getting that data from a GDS, perhaps we get it directly from an airline and continue the ARC process. So, certification, basic, offer management, offer and order management. But wait, there's more. Order management, the fulfillment process, the ticketing process, is getting a look. Because if you're interested in generating revenue as an airline, I wouldn't be surprised to see something that looks like this. Other travelers to Barcelona also purchased a plug adapter, a Lonely Planet tour guide, a beach cover-up, sunglasses, and a little bling for the party scene. But this can't really be executed today in the fulfillment mechanisms we have today. Any one of those suppliers, whether it's Amazon or Maui Jim directly or anyone else, doesn't know what an EMD is or an e-ticket. And they certainly don't know what a debit memo is. They want to see a standard e-commerce transaction. They want to deal with a shopping cart. So if I'm an airline and I want to do this, and why wouldn't I? I've got to have a different fulfillment process. So order management is actually moving into this world. One order. This is a little difficult to read, but it's basically, I'll call your attention to the first paragraph of the column on the left, and I'll read it to you in case you can't read it. One order will result in the gradual disappearance of multiple reservation records as well as e-ticket EMD concepts to be replaced by a single reference order. We are going to get rid of PNRs. We are going to get rid of tickets. What? How is that even possible? This is one of my favorite quotes in the world. It's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. You may number me in the people whose salary depends on something. I don't think I really want to understand this one order thing. But it's coming, folks. It is coming. Because the airlines need revenue. They need new revenue sources, new revenue streams. They want to broaden, and why shouldn't they? They're the point of entry for travel. It's the first thing you do. Book your air. They should be selling more things to customers. They're improving their brands, they're improving their reliability, they're working on trying to improve their customer relationships because they want to sell more, and they're going to rebuild the infrastructure in order to enable that. So, you now know level 1, basic. Level 2, offer management. Level 3, offer and order management. including one order. You want to dazzle your airline friends? Say, how's your one order work going? They'll be, whoa, you know something. Congratulations, you're an NDC expert. Okay, any comments, questions? I think we have a little bit of time left here. Got some from the audience?
I do, sir. I'll start out with one that's a little complex, and I've got one from the audience, but I had one I was composing also, so I'm going to kind of put them together.
Terrific.
It's the same topic. Last year, there was a lot of media attention on airline attendants and ground security people removing customers off aircraft. And then most recently, in our current political climate, we had an affinity program canceled over a political issue. How do you see in the future media and social media influencing sales? And then, I guess this is an opportunity for you to kind of pitch your capabilities. How can ARC help companies, or even the people that are implementing these actions, understand the impact and the sensitivity, timing, how quick can you react to things like that?
You know, I was just at a aviation day event with a lot of senior airline people there, and this question is top of mind. It's very much, every time an airline CEO goes out and talks, it's what about social media? And they are definitely of the view that it's here to stay, and we have to get used to it. We have to train our people better, because we are going to be viral if we don't do a better job in this area. So, I mean, I do think the answer is training. I do think that airlines in general have not understood the stress that people are under. One very interesting data point, which I think all of us that are sort of involved in the industry need to keep in mind, is Scott Kirby, when he was president of American, before he became president of United, said on an earnings call that 87% of their passengers fly them once a year or less. So when 87% of their customers come along and go to the airport, it's a high-stress event. You're getting searched. You're going through TSA. You've got baggage that's getting weighed, and it better not be a pound over 50. You're going to fly on this complicated piece of machinery. You're jammed into these spaces that are and these flights are full. They're all full. There's no extra room. So it's a high-stress environment that people are not familiar with. And I think that those of us who are in the industry, who travel all the time, the crews that are on board the airplanes who fly all the time, don't really have enough appreciation for the stress that people are under when they go through this scenario, and how many of them are under that kind of stress. And your kid's crying, and it's tough. So I think there's got a lot more training and awareness that has to be done. These companies aspire to be important global brands. And that means, first it means reliability, and they're investing in that. On-time performance at the airlines has never been better. That's step one, run a good operation. Step two is provide great customer service, or at least good customer service. And it's lessons like Dr. Dow that, sometimes hard lessons to learn, but they'll get learned.
And are your systems able to pick up those things, or do you just kind of report the data to a company, to a CEO that's interested, and they kind of feather out and do the analysis?
It's a very data-intensive industry. We are sending daily global data files of every ticket that's sold around the world to the airlines. So, they can see almost instantaneously Are they up? Are they down? Are they upside down? So they're very well aware of what's happening on the demand side, and it's their lifeblood. You know, they're selling a perishable product. Once that plane goes, you can't resell that seat. It's gone. So they're very in tune with it.
Okay, great. Move on to the next. Again, if there are questions that you haven't submitted, please come up to the microphone and I'll give you priority on those. Next one, can ARC help with reimbursing GSA city pairs that are canceled since industry agreed to terms of GSA program?
I wish we could. We do not get any indication that a ticket is actually used. So I can tell you what's been sold, I can tell you what's been refunded, I can tell you what's been exchanged, but I cannot tell you what's been used. I certainly aspire to that. We talk to the airlines about that all the time. There's a lot of demand for what's actually been flown, but so far, not a receptive audience on the airline side.
Can you talk a little bit about how ARC might be playing in the issue of human trafficking, or maybe your view on what ought to be happening for industry across the board?
Yeah, we don't get a lot of relevant data that would be helpful on human trafficking. You know, we basically get the ticket. Remember the old paper ticket? We get the information that's on the front of that ticket. So it doesn't include age, doesn't include gender, doesn't include any contact information. It basically all it does is give us the itinerary, the price, the taxes, the form of payment, the passenger name. The passenger name and the credit card number are the only pieces of personally identifying information that we get. So we're not really armed to deal with that issue. We certainly support, I think, what is a broad-based awareness and campaign on the part of the industry to fight human trafficking, but our data is limited in that regard.
Next one's a question on NDC. When will we see NDC in action? Are you still selling this concept to airlines?
So we're starting to see it.
Or are they on board was the final one.
Well,
Scroll down.
airlines are definitely on board with this. It's really been the rest of the distribution system that has not been on board with it. You know, GDSs had been fighting it, agencies have been fighting it, and I think GDSs are all pretty much on board with this now. I think Sabre was probably the most slowest in really getting behind it, but even their CEO is on board within the last couple of months saying, but during 2018, we are going to be delivering fully NDC compliant solutions to any of our airline customers. So it's really going to be down to now, you know, how do agents want to adopt the solution? And I think there are going to be changes to commercial terms. Agents typically get revenue sharing, fairly significant dollars from GDSs. That's probably going to change as NDC comes along. Yes. Oh, hi. Yes.
You talk about the ancillary services and the fact that we're having to go to American's website to get the bigger seat, to get the extra little perks. I really don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but especially with the non-commission environment that we're in today, is there really an incentive for the TMCs to sell or purchase on behalf of the traveler those ancillary services?
My personal view is if I was an agent, I would find a way to sell these things to my customers, and I would figure out how to get the customer to pay me. If the airline's not going to pay me, I'd figure out how to get the customer to pay me. Or I would do it for free until I did enough of them that I could go to the airline and say, I'm selling 1 million seats on you. Don't you care about that? So, you know, the agents have not, and I've told agent associations this routinely, agents have not been a big help here. Why is it only available on the airline website? It's because when they first started coming out with these things, the very first thing that the loudest voices in the agency community said is, well, who's going to pay me for that? So the airlines said, fine, you don't have to sell them. And now it's 7, 10, 12, 15% of their business. Spirit, 50% of their business. I think if all you want to sell is fares, you got a limited future. And now you're having to go to the airline website because your customer's demanding it. So now you got to do more work, manual work, fake like you're the traveler, moral, ethical quandary. That doesn't seem like a path that's sustainable.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think I've just got one more, Mike. The question involves direct connecting to airlines versus using a TMC. Can you kind of talk about that broader issue?
The downside of airlines is they do not understand the customers. They do not understand what corporations require. They do not understand what the government requires in terms of services and business processes. I've had airlines request an RFP from a corporate customer. We're going to compete. We're going to get this ourselves. Don't need that TMC. They're in our home market. They're in a hub. They should be using us exclusively. They get the RFP and they look at it and they're like, we didn't know agents had to do all that. They really don't understand the demands of the customer. And so, agents should feel very good about the fact that they deliver value that their customers need. And I don't see that, it really is about how do you get this content efficiently to the agent so that they can do the work that their customer needs, as opposed to doing it through airline websites and doing all the manual workarounds that exist today. So, the technology is starting to come together. The commercial terms are, going to start coming together. But I'll tell my TMC friends who think that they can continue to resist this that, the day that Expedia can do seats and Wi-Fi and bags and other things and you can't, that's a bad day for you. That's it.
Yes, that's all I've got for questions.
That's all we got. All right, well, thank you, everyone. It's really wonderful seeing so many friendly, warm faces and old friends. Thank you so much. Thanks, Admiral. Appreciate it.
Well, being a novice in this travel industry, Mike, you opened up my eyes to a new facet of your business model, and then continuing to see the value of travel agents, and but also challenging the processes. I think is important. So great issues there. I also learned about the barcodes, which is in my bailiwick, that barcode can go around the world and can be tracked. I think that's pretty cool. And then for demystifying some of the new one-order NDC issues out there, I'm bless you. I'm still not sure I understand it completely, but we'll get the charts and we'll post them. But hope you found this morning's session so far very valuable. We're going to take a break now until, Jim, what time do we come back? Till 11:15, okay? So enjoy the break, and we'll see you back here at 11:15 where Sean Schwinn from Boeing will talk to us. Thank you. All right, buddy.